increasingly becoming depicted as something inherently violent, inherently negative, inherently oppressive.
When you hear the phrase, what comes to your mind?
I don't object. I don't respond with not domain. I just listen, man. You will learn, because when you listen to people's experiences, you're like, oh, okay. So this is what women go through.
There's three sides to a story. There's your side, the other person's side, and there's the truth. When a woman, let's presume, tells you that men are trash, that's her side of the story. We never get to hear the guy's side of the story, oftentimes. Okay? And then there's the truth. There's a synthesis of those two. So I would not, when I'm faced with the statement, men are trash, or this happened to me, and therefore this guy is trash, I'm like, okay, that's your side of the story. What's the other side of the story? What really happened? What took place? How did you get to that extent or that happening? All right? And then from there, what is the actual truth? Okay? So men are trash is one side of oftentimes a very long and convoluted story. We can't just, and it's not meaningful. Like, what does that tell us exactly? That men make mistakes? That men commit crimes?
Yeah.
There's nothing necessarily informative about it.
It's interesting.
You know?
All black people eat chicken.
And I don't mean to say all black people eat chicken.
Yeah, it's one side of the story. We have these guys, right?
Right, and I don't mean to say that men are perfect. Men are not perfect, women are not perfect. But to pose such a blanket statement does not help the discussion at all. We need to approach this with a lot more subtlety. We need to approach this with a lot more nuance.
Where I wanted you to get to, it doesn't help the conversation at all. Go ahead, baby.
Do you think that because of these statements, has this been a burden on men's mental health?
I think a lot of men are carrying. I'll give you an example. Okay, if you go on YouTube and you watch what's happening, this is really blossomed in the United States. Okay, I watched a video where at a university campus there was a speaker who was discussing some societal issue. It might have been gender dynamics. It might have been something with regards to the society, right? And the speaker spoke, and there was a Q&A session. You know how you come up to the mic, introduce yourself, and you pose your question to the person that has given the keynote, right? Or the presentation. And routinely, one male after the other got up and said, "My name is so-and-so. Before I pose my question or before I give my comment, I'd like to apologize for my male privilege." Now, I'm thinking, okay, hold on.
Oh, this was in Canada.
This is the US. This is the US, but I wouldn't put it past Canada. Nothing against Canada. I wouldn't put it past Canada because a lot of the same culture and mindset.
I apologize for my male privilege.
Right. I apologize for my male privilege. Now, what that means is this person is carrying around a thought that there's something inherently, not that he specifically did anything. Notice, there's a specific act that I can do as a male. And then there is the character of simply being male. Men now apologizing simply for the character of being male.
Not for what.
Not that they specifically have done anything wrong. But it's almost suggested that we should, because you are male, there's something you should apologize for. Or because you're male, there's something you should be cautious for. Or because you're male,
you're bound to do.
Right. You're almost doomed to commit certain sins or crimes or acts. Okay? That's where it's at right now. And it goes back to what I mentioned about how, the messaging that's coming across, especially to young boys' minds. Where this was at a university campus. So these guys are, let's say, 20s, 30s.
They're a bunch of other young people.
Exactly. And they're apologizing for being male.
So that little aspect, let me switch over to Temwani and Fire here on this one. When it comes to the burden of carrying this aspect of apologizing for being male, the male privilege apologetics, and all of these mental stresses we receive just for apologizing for being male, just for being male, how do you handle those stresses individually? Do you have these stresses? And if you do, how do you handle it? Because you live in a world where if you're walking out of this place right now where we're shooting from and you're walking home, and there's a lady walking in the street in front of you, and there's this little subconscious voice, like, just try very best to look as unviolent as possible.
That is so true. Actually, that happened to me recently. I was walking down, and you know how it's something that is now like in our minds as women that we always have to be cautious with what's around us. And it was like around 7 p.m. and I was walking, and immediately I saw that there was a guy in front of me. I freaked out and I had to change. I had to like cross over to the other side. So I kind of understand what the question is right now. So
but on their side.
Yeah, on our side.
Now,
so
in the vein of his one side of the story and the other side of the story.
And the truth.
So your side of the story. Is this something you think about?
Yeah. I just put my headsets on.
I've actually experienced that before. Like, I'm walking, I've got a hoodie on from the gym, and my hands in the pocket. Then, there's a girl who's walking, in my direction. So first in my mind, I'm like, let me try and act cool as possible, because I don't wanna, have her having the impression that this guy is probably trying to hurt me or not. And even also, if you could look at it from the different perspective of, let's say you're a guy, you're trying to pursue a woman, but then because of her experiences, her past experiences with, boys or men and stuff like that, it creates that barrier, for you to connect with her, because she has this whole barrier to say that, men are like this, men like this, or like this.
This perception of men.
Exactly. So how do you get past that perception? I mean, changing her perception of, you, when she has had experiences with, your fellow species, it makes it hard to connect, with a woman on a romantic level in a relationship. So they have all these barriers, all these walls, and I think the guys can attest to that. Obviously, when you ask a girl out, you obviously have all these walls you have to try and break down, to try and pick her brain to see that. But then it's not her fault. It's because of what other boys or men have done in her past before.
But then again, there's something because of these conversations, I've taken the time to actually hear a lot more women out on why they take those defensive actions. It's actually considered naivety for them to see a guy up ahead and just presume that he doesn't look violent. You can't tell a rapist by looking. I think that was one thing that one of them mentioned to me, and I was like, okay, but how can we change this catharsis and
make you feel safer?
How can we make you feel safer? And the thing is, it was also a very difficult question to answer on her behalf, because she was like, what is a safe space? Because there are people who, even whilst you're dating, they never lay a hand on you. The moment you step into, matrimony, where'd that come from? You know what I'm saying? Like, how did this character build itself over time? Does this guy work for the CIA? How have I been dating a double agent?
I know how to make women feel
I
safe.
might have to say that. You know how to make women feel safe?
I know how to make women feel safe.
Educate us.
Brother, are you a rapist?
No.
Brother, are you a rapist?
Okay.
Come on.
Let me qualify my hesitation. Are you in a hurry?
No, rape in the criminal sense.
Oh no, of course not.
Brother, are you a rapist? Okay. Brother, are you a rapist?
No, sir.
You guys have done your part in making women feel safe. That's it.
Amen.
Okay, what the discussion was, the discussion needs to touch on, why should I do anything other than not rape to make a woman feel safe?
Exactly.
If I'm not raping women, I've done my part in that realm.
Interesting.
Now, there are violent men out there, and I wish there wasn't. I wish there weren't violent men out there. But the reality is there are violent men out there. So how do you, either as a man or a woman, comport yourself in various situations to take precautions? Okay? If you're out at night, if you're in an unfamiliar place, if you're with unfamiliar people, whatever the case might be, then you might need to take precautions. Men take precautions as well for our safety and our health. Okay, so it's not like we're exempt from the discussion. There are exactly.
Wow.
I was thinking of that. I was thinking of it, but I just didn't want to throw it in. I was like, no, I'm let my brother finish.
Okay, fine. So we've done our part.
Still talking.
We've done our part in making women feel safe. Okay, that's what I would say.
Can I say that maybe it's a few of you men who have done your part?
Okay.
Because it's a few of you guys who've actually done that, and The rest, we are still, if you know what I mean, like there's still that part. For example, I feel safe here because I know you guys. You know what I mean? And I know you're not up to get me or to hurt me in any way. Right. So this is
and
safe.
it's gonna be some.
Yeah.
You know,
we raising hands.
That's what I was going to say. So he wouldn't allow that.
You know what I mean?
Right. You're probably in the safest place you can be in right now.
It's not what you've said is not everywhere, if you know what I mean. Yeah. It's here right now, but it's not everywhere. So I think it's something that needs to be I don't know whether it needs to be taught or it needs to be I don't know how, but
it needs to be taught.
It needs to be taught. You know what I mean? Where we do actually have to feel safe.
Yeah, you just brought up a very good point. You know, in most instances, like the boys or the men who actually, you know, perform these heinous, you know, crimes against women, you know, raping, and you know, and all sorts of emotional abuse, you find that probably growing up they didn't have, you know, a father figure, or they didn't have, you know, someone to look up to who, you know, could show them this is how you treat a woman, this is how you take care of a woman. Like in my instance, I'll give an example of myself. I've grown up in a very loving home. My parents have been married 28 years now, 29 years.
Nice.
And, you know, and not once have I ever seen my dad raise his voice at my mom. Not once have I ever seen my dad hit my mom. You know, and for me, that is the perception of how I see or how I think a relationship should be like. So I think I wouldn't be wrong if I said that, you know, lots of young men don't have the privilege of growing up in, you know, loving homes, you know, with a father figure that actually, you know, shows them what it is like to be a man, how to act like a man, how to treat a woman, how to take responsibility, you know, for your actions. So I think that is also something we need to look into as men now. Like, how can we help the upcoming generation of young men, you know, to not make the mistakes that, you know, our peers or our
predecessors and our friends are making. I had a similar conversation. Okay, I had a similar conversation with somebody recently, and they were telling me to say, look, this idea that men are trash, this idea of cheating men and all this. I'm like, yeah, but that's not all the men though. I know quite a lot of guys who are pretty upstanding fellows. They're decent guys. They don't cheat in their relationships. They're standing well. They don't hurt women. They're not violent and such. And she's like, yeah, but so what are you guys doing to help the other guys who are like this? I said, well, is it up to me to fix this? And she's like, look, as women, we're doing so much to help ourselves, to raise awareness, to teach each other how to protect yourself, to teach each other that you can actually come and seek out help if you're in an abusive relationship. But the work we're doing towards curbing the idea of men are trash, yeah, it's a little violent and a little blunt tool, but a little brunt of a force rather. But it's because there's so much that's happened that we need to hit it with a little bit too much force, and it's not as effective until men also start to do their side. I'm like, what does that side look like? She said, you guys who are good, you good men, don't come to us and tell us that not all men, but rather help your men, teach each other so that you can be better.
Okay, so let me get that straight. So I'm supposed to sit my male friends down and tell them to not rape.
If they're rapists, prefer.
No, but if he is a rapist, then that's not a discussion. I'm taking him to the police.
Good. Thank you. That's good. Like,
right?
So we're not really meeting
there's certain
right
assumptions, right?
Okay.
I'm just saying what is expected from either the girl that you're reporting or what is it? You want me to sit my guy friend down? Oh, boy, you know, don't rape. Huh? Don't rape anyone this weekend.
No. It's not even like that literal. No. It's not that literal. But what this person is trying to say is
hold each other accountable.
Yeah, hold each other accountable. For example, for us women, there's so much that we're doing to hold ourselves accountable, one way or the other. Okay, if it's something that has to do with financial literacy, we are teaching each other how to take care of money, and you know what I mean. You know what I mean. We've even gotten to that point. Also, don't depend on men.
Okay, yes.
Only, but you know what I mean. Like there are few things that men are doing to help each other or to be accountable to each other. So yes, you can say one of those where you're like, okay, do I have to sit my boys down and tell them don't be this? But at least you can actually sit down and have a discussion.
In the sense of you sitting down with me, why are you doing this?
Okay, baby.
I don't know why I just called you baby.
You try to understand the root cause of why he's doing this, you know.
I think the way to avoid men that are violent towards women is to have the things that we've already discussed. A man who is responsible, okay, a man who is strong in knowing who he is and what he stands for, will not be violent towards a woman.
So this is what I was saying. The conversation is sitting down with men.
But if you weaken the man,
is not about weakening the man or telling him, yo, don't rape, yo, don't do this, but rather giving him definition of manhood. Because this is why we start with the aspect of manhood and boyhood. There's so many boys thinking that they're men just because they're older, just because they have a beard, just because you have your nutsack has dropped, just because of all this, because they have money. Yeah, they think they're men, but you know that finances don't define you as a man. You know that testosterone does not define you as a man. You know that you releasing sperm does not mean you're a man.
I'd say testosterone is pretty important though. maybe not entirely definitive, but it's an ingredient in the cake.
Yeah, I don't mind
Oh
this
my gosh!
It's an ingredient in the cake.
I like this guy, man.
Come on now. You're going to throw out testosterone?
I didn't throw it out. I said it is not what defines you as a man.
Okay.
But you understand. Thank you for
But
that.
we get the gist of it.
Okay, guys, we need to get to
The next
the
bit.
next point. Actually,
Fire, drop what you
fire,
guys
fire, go, 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 go,
I
go.
don't even know so much has been said.
Oh, by the way,
So
can I? My bad, brother. Can I just get this one thing in? Can I just get this one thing in? You'll see a video online if you search. I don't know what you would search as the exact title, but it's a video that I've come across where a woman is seen being accosted or physically assaulted in public by a man. Do you know who comes to their rescue?
when a woman wears a short skirt, she's not asking you to do anything.
When a woman is seen being physically accosted in public, legions of men will come to her rescue. Men are not rapists. There are some men that are wicked, but men are not rapists. Therefore, also men are not trash.
Catcalling. That's rapey, bro.
Catcalling is rapey?
Yes. This guy, we respect him, he's our boy, but he treats women bad. And if we try to holler at him, he take us back.
You need to look at your fellow man and say, hey man, look, you're okay, you're a good man. You're doing well. We could do this part better. That's not so easy to say to your friend. Because immediately he's going to think, you think I'm inadequate.
You have to be ready to fight, bro.
So sex before marriage, guys.
I can't
Okay.
buy
Are you
boy.
nuts?
How do you reconcile the fact that the values you were taught were sex is regarded for marriage, but as a man you get horny, you know what I'm saying, and that horniness is like an itch that needs a scratch. So how do you reconcile the idea of being horny outside marriage? It's more or less like you're being told the only time you should be horny is
When
in
you're
marriage.
married.